Today is all about actually it's going to be 4 C's, and it's about clarity, growing clarity, confidence, and consistency out of commitment. So these are all huge things that are really important, and they all connect into each other. So I'm going to start with a concept called the drift. So the drift is something that I learned from a few mentors, and one of them is Michael Strassner, and this is from his book. So the drift is a collective compilation of automatic pilot of human behavior, and it's cultural norms that come out of that. So it's kind of like what Martha Beck would call the social self, like the way things are if you don't make conscious choices. So unless this drift is interrupted, it predetermines the outcome of our lives, and it sucks you into the status quo and your own comfort zone. So and the way to get out of this and not contribute or feed the drift is your commitment to your vision. It's one of the ways. It's my favorite way, is to have something to go for and to constantly step out of the drift to move forward. So an analogy for this is, it's like we're all in a river drifting down. And unless we consciously step out of it, then we're going to be flowing down that river. And we even have our own drift in a way, like our own version of the drift for ourselves based on our lifestyle and our comfort zone. So to get out of that, we have to, an analogy wise, we have to create our own boat with our own navigation and steering. So we get to determine where that comes from. So we step into the helm of our lives, and to determine the direction you go in and your source of your GPS. So we know my GPS on my phone comes from a satellite, depending on which app I'm using, different satellites and different sources. But you get to decide which satellite your personal GPS data comes from. So is it from social norms or expectations of others or your past visions, or is it from a current vision that comes from your heart, your soul, your intuition, and your body and gut and current time? So for me, I feel like that latter half there, coming from my heart, my soul, my intuition, and my gut, gives me a lot more energy than coming from something outside myself that I should do from whatever form. And I think we're constantly sloughing off those things of what we should do, And this doesn't necessarily mean it's from mainstream culture. You might be in a subculture identity-wise where you still have that kind of pressure to be a certain way or show up a certain way, So, so basically, I'm saying, unless we just want to float in the drift, we have to do something to remember that we're in the drift, to get out of it over and over again, and to steer a direction that we want to go in based on the GPS source that we're choosing, So, and part of that is clarity. The first C here is clarity on where you want to go. And I think it was Dan Coe that said that, clarity is more important than motivation, because you can't get to motivation unless you have clarity. You have to know where you want to go. And, you also have to be clear on where you are. And I think a lot of times we don't fully accept or let ourselves be where we are. And so, that you are here on the map, as far as the GPS analogy goes, I am here, this is where I am, and I want to go here. So what are the first steps I can take to get there? And the thing is, you don't have to know, the Martin Luther King Jr. quote, you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. So it can just be clarity of the next step. And clarity is amazing because clarity leads to freedom. And clarity moves energy, getting clear, and even clearing clutter, that kind of clarity energetically and environmentally also moves energy and frees energy. So that's huge. And I wanted to share a not well-known perspective on clarity that I adore. And it's from Hakomi, which is a psychology system. And this is it. So basically it starts with rest. And once we rest, we can gain insight. And that's where the clarity comes. And then insight leads to effective action. And then that can lead to satisfaction or completion of the cycle. So our culture mostly lives here and here, like here's your idea and here's your doing stuff. But we miss out on this completion cycle and feeling and allowing satisfaction, celebration, completion, whatever you want to call it, because we just go here and here and here and here and here and here. We don't actually let ourselves feel the satisfaction and then go to rest. And, you know, I had a therapist years ago who said that she thinks rest is like the biggest missing link, biggest problem in our culture. People are not really resting in the ways that we need to. So sometimes, and if you can't get to here or here, then you go back to this point of rest. And you can look this up and find tons of stuff on it. I love this because I feel like it gives me permission to, when I'm trying to figure something out and I'm in my head, to come back to rest. Like when I was doing my TED Talk process for months, I was like in my head and freaking out, and like it was really stressful, but I would let myself take 15-minute naps. And every time I would get up, I would have new insights. And so it doesn't have to be like a 5-week retreat or something. It can just be like, you know, taking a break from what you're doing and getting a fresh perspective, you know, and your brain wave shifts when you do that too. So you're accessing different possibilities. So that's the Hakomi sensitivity cycle. And I hope that's helpful just to see the importance of clarity and what that, you know, what that can bring, you know? Yeah. So, okay. So, and then let's talk about commitment. So once you know where you want to go, then it's a matter of committing to it. So notice I didn't say knowing how to get there, right? I said committing to it. And commitment doesn't have to be to the exact outcome you think you want. Commitment can be committing to certain values. It can be committing to taking the next step every day. You know, there's different levels of commitment, different things you can commit to depending on how you work. So, and just speaking about commitment is the bridge between a vision and an idea. So a vision or a dream is just a nice idea unless there's commitment behind it. Commitment is the bridge that connects vision with the results. So the commitment is how you get from the idea or the vision. And a vision is more than just an idea. A vision is a declaration to cause something in the future, something purposeful. And it's causing and creating a future that brings out the best in who you are. So it's becoming, not so much doing, you know, because that's really what we're talking about here. And I'll talk more about identity in just a second around that. And a lot of times people have a fear of commitment, and it is a lot to put yourself out there and to say it. And you don't always have to say it in public or whatever, and just committing within yourself, you know? So it's about, you know, fear of commitment can be the underlying beliefs of not believing it's possible, whatever it is. And I would say you get some support around that, or really clarify what you're committing to. And so you can believe it's possible from that point, and you can always evolve it, or feeling powerless to change it. And those are similar. So those two things can really be underneath, like not willing to commit, either not believing it's possible or feeling powerless to change it. And I'm seeing a request to redefine vision again. So vision is a declaration to cause something in the future. And this is from Michael Strausner as well. A declaration to cause something in the future and something purposeful. And it's creating a future that brings out the best in who you are. So it's in a way, I see it as meeting your potential. I mean, not like optimize 100% for, you know, whatever A++, but just like really stepping into being yourself fully. And then, you know, we may have doubts around commitment. There's a great quote by Rollo May that says, the relationship between commitment and doubt is by no means an antagonistic one. Commitment is healthiest when it's not without doubt, but in spite of doubt. So commitment, you know, and there's that quote, I think it's Goethe, that says, like, you know, commit and the universe will move to make it happen. You know, something like that. I don't have an exact quote in front of me, but like, you know, that commitment is a big deal. And I said this yesterday in the challenge, but, you know, the idea that, you know, 99% commitment is a bitch, but 100% is easy because it's super freaking clear. And, you know, I know sometimes like what I'm committed to because of how I say it and the energy I say it with. Like this year, I'm committed to traveling. Like I'm like overdue from the past few years. I've traveled some, but like this year, I'm using my passport. This is happening, and I'm going to make it happen. So yeah, so that commitment, stepping into that. Okay, the next C is confidence. So, and I have some great quotes here. This is so good. So this is Philip Stutz. True confidence is living in uncertainty and moving forward. And in a way, that's also commitment. True confidence is living in uncertainty and moving forward, like anyway. And so, confidence doesn't come from this doesn't come from nowhere. It doesn't come out of nowhere and you just get it, you have it. It comes from, doing something and then gaining confidence through the thing you're doing. So you can't be confident in something unless you do it and you're imperfect at it. And, and you do the thing and then you learn and you grow and you become more and more confident. So, and then there's a Dale Carnegie quote that says, action breeds confidence and courage. So, inaction breeds doubt and fear. Yeah. So, and people say fake it till you make it, and that's interesting, but I like a different phrase that's similar. That's be it until you see it. So becoming that, that being your commitment, being the vision, stepping into that energy of becoming, and through your actions and through your choices. And that reminds me of thank you. That reminds me of the, let's see here, the James Clear quote that says, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Yeah. So that's the becoming. So not just doing, but becoming through the choices you're making and the commitment you're sticking to, right? And then one other confidence resource I want to mention is if you haven't seen Amy Cuddy's TED Talk or her book Presence, which I have, but I don't have it in front of me. It's like a yellowish gold book. She's the one that did the TED Talk about the power poses where you hold your arms up. And then there's also one like this, the Wonder Woman pose, where you put your fists on your hips, and doing that for, I think it's 30 seconds a day. Full posture, I'm a big animal, telling your body that you're safe and strong and big. It builds confidence in your system. And I can't tell you how many times I've done a talk and, on Zoom or in person, and I've, gone off camera or to the bathroom and gone into the bathroom and done the power pose for a while. It really supports. So there's lots of stories about that and research. If you look it up, you'll find it. Amy Cuddy, C-U-D-D, a star pose. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, beautiful. Okay. Yeah, and and that be it till you see it is kind of like those things I shared about the perfectionism and how to overcome it. So that might be another thing you can write down if it resonates for you, to just remember that, stepping into that. Okay, the next C is consistency. We have clarity, commitment, confidence, and the fourth C is consistency. So consistency is massive. So there's this great meme I just saw recently that says, all of my plans for the future involve me waking up tomorrow with a sudden sense of discipline and adherence to routine that I have never displayed even once in my life. And that's R. McCarthy James, and that's this username there. I love that, because it's calling us all out, that we all one day I'm going to do this thing, So the question is what do you actually need to be supported in becoming this thing you want to become, this version of yourself that is possible. And that's supported, supporting that. How do you support that? And James Clear says habits are not about having something, they're about becoming something. So it's that sense of becoming and creating something that helps you get out of the drift in your life, so unless you do have that sense of discipline that I just spoke about in the meme quote, it's imperative that you create a structure to constantly get yourself out of the drift and into your own boat, so that you can, steer and go toward what you want to go toward. And remember your vision too. So yourself and what does and doesn't work for you. If what you're doing is working, keep doing it. Congratulations. And if you want something new, it's a matter of being willing to step outside of your identity to invest in a new way with your time and energy and focus. So, and there's tons of, James Clear quotes about identity. And one is like, your habits shape your identity and your identity shapes your habits, right? So it's like your habits shape your identity and your identity shapes your habits. So you have to figure out where you're going to step out of that. And, for years, I knew that, creative and holistic entrepreneurs needed to reframe and create a new framework for what business is, what marketing is, what sales is, what money is. And I talk about that in my TED Talk, and, reframing those things in ways that are more aligned with your vision. For example, money is a tool for expression and freedom, as opposed to like money is evil or whatever. Like that reframe is massive. And for so many years, I knew that there was, but like when I heard James Clear say that identity is the reason that happens, I was like, oh my God. Because for me, when I was like, had my first businesses and I didn't do numbers and I wasn't good at math and all these things I identified with, and like I didn't identify with business, like I just shot myself in the foot by becoming, really, really deeply in debt by ignoring all those things, and it didn't serve me. So, how, like, what areas do you limit yourself through your identity by saying like, oh, that's not me, or I don't do that, or I'm not good at that? Just notice that, don't judge yourself for doing it. It's, we all do that. So just notice it and see if you're willing to let that go just a little bit and to stretch into a new way of being. I mean, I never thought in a million years I'd be a business coach or a business geek and love it so much, but I see it as this amazing potential for not only spiritual growth, but also for impact and possibility and creation for you all who are listening to this, who are creative and holistic entrepreneurs, to be empowered is like, yeah, if I'm going to help anybody make more money, it's the people who are doing these beautiful, amazing things in the world, and who, simply need to, do the things to make a stronger business. So it's like, oh yeah, of course, So yeah, so basically, these are all ways to remember to get your head out of your ass. Asking yourself, okay, am I in the drift? Am I in my comfort zone? Do I have clarity what I want, what's next? Am I committed? Am I slacking on that? Am I stepping away from that? And do I have confidence? And if you need confidence, don't wait for it. It won't come if you just wait for it. It's like, if you're waiting for it, how much longer are you going to wait? So really let yourself create confidence through either, power poses or taking action that's risky, that you get to just like get better and better at by doing it over and over again. I remember when I first started my jewelry business many years ago, I was sending some email to somebody about something, and I was like, it took me forever to send an email that was business focused because I was trying to figure out my business self, and I remember like watching a colleague answer something or whatever, and I was like, oh my God, like they just like answered it, and it took me a while to like get that, but it was, that simple thing was stretchy for me because I was trying to figure out who I was as a business owner and what my voice was in that, and how to be professional but also myself. And it was like, it sounds simple, but it was like, at the time it was like, how do I do this? So I was stretching into it, and after years of that, of course, I became more confident and it became easier. Yeah. So if you have any questions or anything, somebody said they relate to that. Exactly. Yeah, totally. Simple things can overwhelm us sometimes. Yeah. If you have any questions coming up, feel free to chime in here too, or commentary. I'd love to hear it. Yeah. So, this week we talked about, so day one was all about self-sabotage and looking at that bigger picture of self-sabotage. And then day two was perfectionism. So like doing things imperfectly and just moving forward with it. And day three was procrastination of, when it's recognizing it, when is it procrastination, and when is it, you need something else to make it happen, or including just breaking down steps, So these are all things to recognize, and change is all about, being aware of something first and then being willing to change it. So that awareness is huge. And I've enjoyed the deep dive into these different areas for myself. And I hope you have too.